We are talking about spectrum with Robert Horvitz of the Open Spectrum Foundation and Vickram Crishna of Radiophony. Spectrum is a very contentious area at the local, national and international levels. India is a major consumer and user of wireless technology, but it imports everything. Once the British used to take away our cotton and make cloth out of it and sell that back to us. Today, technology companies do the same with our engineers. Our engineers produce technology for them, which they then sell back to us. Robert Horvitz sees an opportunity here using a new technology called cognitive radio.
With a very large number of trained engineers already developing cognitive radios for other countries, a very large amount of white space in the UHF band, which is not being used now for local television in this country, you have a fantastic opportunity to combine those two to allow shared use of the most desirable part of the radio spectrum to get not just broadcasting expanded at the village level, at the city level, at the regional level, the specialized kinds of broadcasts that could serve rural areas or interest groups or whatever.
Different dialects.
Yes, niche marketing of broadcasting, and at the same time broadband for villages and cities.
But what is cognitive radio? Let us understand spectrum management first. An easy way to understand how spectrum is allocated in India is to compare it to a beach. Suppose we have a beach of 1 kilometer distance and 1,000 people who want to use this beach. The conventional manner of dealing with spectrum is to parcel this kilometer into slices of 1 meter each, allowing each user to lie on the sand or reach the ocean without fear of banging into anyone else, but without permission to use any part of the beach, even if it were empty. Cognitive radio is a form of wireless communication in which the receiver intelligently detects which spectrum is in use and which is not, and instantly moves to the unutilized spectrum. It optimizes the use of available radio frequency.
Frankly, it's very much like the traffic in India. You have stripes painted on the pavement in the big cities, but the cars basically find their own way, and it's the intelligence of the driver that regulates the flow and not the stripes on the road. The traditional approach to radio management has put the stripes in the road, and everybody, regardless of the size of the vehicle, has to fit in those stripes. But in any case, the grand realization is that if radios can manage their own use of frequency, the role of government control is much reduced. Strict regulation of radio has been necessary for a century because the first generation of radios were very stupid. They could not detect neighboring signals and avoid them. They were rigid in their use of frequencies, and so they had to be assigned individually by governments.
A rudimentary form of cognitive radio has been around for around a decade now. Wi-Fi takes advantage of what is actually known as garbage spectrum. The 2.4 gigahertz slice that has been given to Wi-Fi is also used by microwave ovens, industrial ovens and so on, and hence there is so much noise in this slice of spectrum that the government could not sell it. So it was made available free of cost for Wi-Fi, where multiple radios share the same bandwidth. Even though this is garbage spectrum, Wi-Fi has been spectacularly successful. Every laptop contains Wi-Fi, and it is routinely used in cafes and airport lounges to connect to the internet. The success of Wi-Fi is an indicator of how successful cognitive radio is going to be. But how could India introduce cognitive radio with the least amount of disruption to existing users of spectrum?
We need to have a regulatory approach that says that frequency reuse is good. That is the approach that was already used in Wi-Fi in the 2.4 gigahertz band. The limitation of 2.4 gigahertz is it doesn't travel very far, it doesn't go through walls, it doesn't go through trees and so on like that. But in 700 megahertz, these would not be issues.
This prime spectrum is almost unused. The government broadcasts only 2 or 3 TV channels terrestrially. However, there is space for 100.
That the market for devices that can use the empty UHF spectrum in North America, in Europe, and Latin America will open very widely in the next few years. The very first pilot test of white space device, as they're called, is going on now in Virginia. It's just a handful of stations. The test is successful as far as I've heard. The cognitive technology is working. TV is a very simple thing for cognitive radios to recognize, so they learn what frequency is occupied by TV, and they just don't use it. So in the meantime, they're providing broadband for all of the other residents of the community. By this time next year or the year after that, we'll be looking at maybe 50 companies releasing white space devices, nearly all of them designed by Indian engineers, at least in part. It will become a $1 billion market in 5 years.
Most Indian households already have a television set capable of picking up terrestrial TV signals. In every village, you will find someone who shoots marriage videos and knows how to edit them. So content production facilities are also locally available. All it needs is a policy, and terrestrial TV in India will bloom. The internet is also increasingly becoming a YouTube-like medium, a lot of television, a lot of video, a lot of pictures. And this would give us an excellent means to bring internet content, global content, to illiterate people in rural areas in India at very little cost.
In terrestrial television, obviously what it does is it completely opens up the possibility that local artists and local managers, that is people who are capable of organizing, can actually get jobs which exploit that innate talent.
So we have the spectrum, the technology and the manpower to make cognitive radio a spectacular success, allowing us to become world leaders in telecom technology, exporters of it, instead of huge importers.
This is an area, it's not the the cognitive radios themselves that will generate zillions of jobs for people, but it's the applications on those gadgets that are going to create enormous numbers of businesses. And those businesses will have an economic value for India in terms of generating employment as well as in generating new services, but also in terms of being able to sell those services worldwide.
A policy is required that allows private and community TV along with cognitive radio in the frequency band earmarked for terrestrial TV, but is hardly being utilized. This policy would generate significant revenue for government, drastically reduce cost of bringing broadband to every remote village in India, improve information access through TV and internet, generate rural employment, and promote local content and culture. It would help us leapfrog from followers to leaders in telecom technology. By a stroke of the pen, we could eliminate our spectrum shortage, provide support to local communities, dramatically improve information access, and also cut down the cost of bringing broadband to our villages.
The opportunity beckons. Question is, does our government have the courage to lead in telecommunications research instead of always depending on others to make technology for us?